Hi, it's Lou from Christian Faith and Fiction. I'm just going to share with you my July wrap up. I have 3 complete book reviews to share with you, all Christian fiction, and also then I'm going to wrap up the end of the Beaches and Books 2024 Readathon that I've been doing with my fellow co-hosts. I will link their channels down below and also some of the videos that we've been putting out during the month. So I've been keeping my book reviews as I've been going along. I've got 3 books that I completed during this month to share with you. So I'll put those in now. Let me know in the comments what your favourite book of the month of July was that you read. And I'll catch you at the end of the book reviews. I finished reading Beach Haven by T.I. Lowe. This is first book in the Carolina Coast series. It is following Opal, who has a shop called Bless This Mess, I think it was called, and it's in Sunset Cove. She takes old objects and renews them, redoes them, recycles them, upcycles them, whatever you want to call it, to make these new objects and new furniture that's very beautiful, and sells it on to other people. One day a guy called Lincoln comes in. He's supposed to be getting a job with her to help her out. He is a veteran soldier and he's injured, and his pain levels makes him very crabby and just grumpy, and he doesn't sort of hit it off straight away with her. He sort of goes away again and doesn't bother to stay for the job interview. But then there is a hurricane which destroys the shop, and so he feels bad and he goes back to help her, and so that's how they sort of get to know each other. He is very sort of grumpy and gruffly, and she is described as a pixie. He describes her as she's the kind of manic pixie dream girl, and she's a little bit thought of to be a bit kooky and a bit odd. So this is a contemporary romance between the two of them. They both have sort of backstories to them. There is some harder topics to deal with in there, to deal with having been in the war and disability, things from the past that they both have. There's some harder things that they're dealing with. What I enjoyed about the book, I enjoyed the backstory of the characters. I enjoyed that they had more issues to deal with. I liked the plot of the book and the setting of it. I didn't totally warm to the characters. They were both had some unlikable qualities to them. Opal was very upbeat mostly, but she also had things underneath. And Lincoln was just very grumpy quite a lot of the time. Partly it wasn't helped. I was listening to the audiobook and they're supposed to have sort of gravelly, gruff voices, both of them, and the narrator put that into the delivery of their voices, but it made them sound like they were sort of in their 80s or 90s, which I found difficult to sort of imagine them as being younger people. I think maybe in their early 30s or late 20s. I just didn't warm to the characters so much. So I would give this 7.5 out of 10 for story enjoyment. I would give it 3 minus 1 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. That's because there's a lot of Christian faith in the book. There's a lot of faith elements to the book. But alongside that, Opal is the sort of person, she likes to give shells and make a wish on the shell as she's giving it to a person. She explains it that she's actually just praying through that, but it does the book quite often talks about her making wishes rather than her praying. It sort of interchanges the two. Now, I would give the benefit of the doubt to the author and say that I don't think that they were trying to say that you could mix Christian faith with other spiritual practices. But I think if you were someone coming out of New Age, you might find this confusing, or a newer Christian, you might find it confusing and might get misled into thinking the author was saying it was okay to mix and match different religions and different things together. That's why I've given it a 3, but a minus 1 as well, because there's a lot of faith content in there, but there's a few things that could be problematic for some people. I finished reading Hidden Current by Sharon Hinck. This is the first book in the Dancing Realms trilogy. This is a Christian fantasy story set on a quite an unusual world. And it is following Clara, who has spent her life in what you might describe as a cross between a ballet school and a convent. It's this sort of almost training for nun, to be a nun in some ways, but it's actually a dance school. So from a young age they join this school and they're training to become dancers who will dance in the centre of the island that they live in, and the dancers, they dance together and it controls the world. Now I don't want to say too much about the world because you sort of get to know it as you read the story. It unfolds. It's quite a creative fantasy world. It's definitely got a lot of things in it that I haven't seen before, which I loved that. I loved the dancing elements to it. I also loved that it's slightly dystopian, so it's an allegory, Christian allegory. It has very strong Christian motifs going through it. There are loads of references to what you might think of as God, and I think there's probably scope for reading all sorts of things into the story and getting different messages from it in terms of Christian faith. To me, the world felt a bit like a fantasy version of North Korea or China. Again, I don't want to say too much about why that is, but it does have that kind of feel to me in that story. So it's a real mix of a very strong Christian allegory message with a very creative fantasy world. I think she did a good job of taking the reader through the journey of learning about the world, because there are some quite weird sort of parts to it, but she doesn't rush through those things. She sort of introduces one thing at a time, and that allows you to sort of visualize it and get to know it before moving on to something else. So I didn't feel kind of bombarded by weirdness all the time, even though the concept of the world is quite strange. The whole thing with the dancers was really interesting and how it fits into the fantasy elements of the world. And I also enjoyed the friendships and relationships that were in the book. Because there is quite a strong allegory to the work, I found myself, constantly thinking, what's this supposed to mean all the time? I would say, in terms of story content, I would give this 8.5 out of 10 for my story enjoyment rating, and 3 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. Definitely an interesting one from the Christian faith perspective to read. I'll be interested to see at some point what happens in the rest of the trilogy. I finished reading Loyally Luke by Peppa Basham. This is the third book in her series, which is Skimar. I think that's the name of the series. It is set in a fictional island off of Scotland. So somewhere there it's like a fictional country, and it has a fictional monarchy. And this is following Luke, who is the third sort of brother cousin of the other two characters who've been the main characters in previous books, and it is told in a lot of messages as well as narrative. Luke has gone to Skimar to take on the job of doing up a cabin, as well as another project which he's been asked to do. He doesn't know who he's exactly working for, but he's been asked to go and give some advice on another building project. On his way there in the airport, he bumps into someone who is quite rude to him. There's like an incident, and he thinks she looks really good looking, but kind of quite uppity. And then when he gets to the building site that he's going to be working on, he discovers she is going to be, in effect, his boss, somebody there who's working with him. So the things I liked about this book, I like the style of it, I liked the banter between the two characters, I liked the humour in there, I liked the upbeatness of the, it gives it kind of a rom-com feel. I liked the monarchy included in here, this sort of fake monarchy, as it were, not fake, but fictional monarchy, and I liked the relationship between the two. I liked finally seeing Luke's story and seeing bits of glimpses of the other two characters who I've enjoyed from the other books. Things that I didn't like so much, I found the first part of it, I enjoyed the plot, and then the end part I also enjoyed the plot, but the sort of the middle third of it, the second third of it, I did get a bit bored at times, and I felt like it needed another subplot in there to carry the story. Also, the romance is quite often was physical based, as in it was attraction based, and they were noticing each other's physique a lot and wanting to kiss each other a lot, and that is not my sort of cup of tea when it comes to romances. As a single woman, I don't necessarily find that particularly helpful to read a lot of that sort of thing, and also it does get repetitive. You know, there's only so many times, there's only so many ways you can say, oh, he really wanted to kiss her, or she wanted to kiss him, that kind of thing. So those were sort of downers for me. There was a little bit of faith content in there. There was talks of people, you know, encouraging each other to pray and having a faith and that kind of thing. So I would give this a 7.5 out of 10 for story enjoyment and a 1.5 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. I would say of the three, I enjoyed the book 2, Positively Penelope, the best, and this one probably was my least favourite, but I did enjoy the concept and the world and the characters and the way the story was told. So those were the three complete Christian fiction novels that I finished during July. I also finished a couple of kids' books which were much shorter, The Little Mermaid by Anna Kemp and The Sports Day Chicken by Pamela Butchart. I did a reviews for those books in my previous reading vlog, which I'll link down below. So for the Beaches and Books Readathon, we had 12 different challenges, and I did get a complete bingo board. I did double up, treble, quadruple on some of the books, but the first challenge was to pick a book from a library, which I picked The Little Mermaid and The Sports Day Chicken for those ones from my e-library. A book you save for later, I picked Beach Haven by T.I. Lowe. A book that made waves in the community, I picked Hidden Current by Sharon Hinck because it had won an award. A book you think will be 5 stars, I picked Hidden Current by Sharon Hinck. I, in the end, gave it like 4 stars or 4.25 stars, but I did imagine it might be a 5-star book. Number 5, a book about friends, The Sports Day Chicken, was fitted that prompt. And Underwater Setting, The Little Mermaid, fitted that prompt. But also Hidden Current by Sharon Hinck did have some underwater parts to it, if you know, very short, but there were parts to it. Number 7, a book with a sun or a yellow cover, Loyally Luke by Peppa Basham, fits that one. Number 8, a book with royalty or castle on the cover, again, Loyally Luke fitted that one. A book about sports, The Sports Day Chicken, obviously, that fitted that prompt. 10, a book with 2 points of view, Beach Haven by T.I. Lowe, fitted that prompt. And 11, read a book during a rainstorm. I probably read a few different books because it rained quite a lot in July, but Beach Haven by T.I. Lowe, I specifically was reading and filming during that prompt. And number 12, a book set in a beach town, Beach Haven by T.I. Lowe, fits that prompt. Okay, let me know in the comments again your favourite book from the month of July, and if you joined in with the readathon, how did you get on? Did you get any of the bingos? Did you get a full house or a blackout, whichever you want to call it? Let me know how you got on with your reading and how you're doing in the summer. I hope you're having a fantastic reading week. If you'd like to see more videos about Christian fiction, you can watch these videos over here. And until next time, I pray God bless you and your families. Bye!